Phew, excuse me. Hi, welcome to the live stream. Be answering your questions about mental health. Oh, here's my phone. I can find the questions. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. About mental health, healing from toxic relationships, and I will answer questions that I received throughout the week. And one of our regulars on the live streams, Miss Priya, I'm going to pull up her question. And actually, I'll wait and see if she comes into the live stream. But let me pull up some of the other comments. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And again, I've mentioned this in a few other live streams, but the series of videos I did on narcissistic men that are secretly gay, down low, it's very confusing if you have dated one of these type of men, because it's like, why are they so mean? And it's because they are, I mean, all narcissists hate themselves. All narcissists have so much deep-rooted guilt and shame. But if they, you know, are secretly gay and they're suppressing a lot of stuff, which all narcissists are, it just adds another layer. And so they will date women and use you, literally use you as a supply to look a certain way, but they're not actually, and they actually, like narcissists don't have the they do have the capacity, but they're not willing to have the capacity to look at themselves and experience true love. So, or just open themselves up in that way, because they are very afraid of intimacy. So it's going to cause a negative reaction, and they're going to take it out on you, unfortunately. But if you go on my Instagram, especially, and look at the comment section in those videos that I did about DL men that are narcissistic, it's wild. A lot of people, and they all say the same thing, like, oh, my boyfriend, husband was cheating on me with like sex workers of the same sex, like all this stuff, or would constantly put me down and say like, oh, you need to dress more feminine. And then when they did, they would put them down and say that they're slutty. And then, so it was just like a never win situation. And that is true with all narcissists. You're going to feel like you can never win. You can never make them happy. And even if you do everything and you're like completely quote unquote perfect, they will still abandon you, because their whole thing is, again, that fear of intimacy. So, and a lot of them have avoidant characteristics. So even if you perform to the nth degree, hi Miss Priya, I'm about to answer your question that you wrote. Even if you perform perfectly, they will find something to push you away, and that's just how it goes. So thank you. Hi, how are you? Hi, I'm doing well. How are you guys? Nice to have you on the live stream. So, Miss Priya, this is the base. Let me find your question. I just had it pulled up. That you wrote in the comments. Sometimes I feel tempted to contact a narcissist. Was it this question, Miss Priya, or was it a different one? Sometimes I feel tempted to contact a narcissist or toxic person from the past and let them know that I finally figured out their games. I think you had a different question, but I'm actually going to comment on this here. And then, so after you've been doing your healing or you've disconnected from a toxic person, there is that urge to be like, yeah, I know what you did, or like, fuck you, like I'm doing better now. Or to just be like, I understand what you did, and I'm like resentful that you did that to me. I understand your games now. It's never going to go well. I mean, I feel like you should work with a therapist or even talk to a friend, do something to process that. But telling the person, it's not going to help. I mean, I've even had narcissistic exes ask me, am I a narcissist? And I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? You're watching all my videos. So what do you think? I won't even, be tempted to, because it's not going to go well. And then they'll blame you, and then it'll just cause like tension. Let's see. I asked about other people, asking friends, coworkers, and they don't want involvement, fearing they'll be they'll be the next victim. So that is a very common thing. So when people that are toxic, the people around them know. The only people that they're not fooling are strangers. That is why narcissists and borderline, all of those toxic personalities, the personality disorders, are the nicest to strangers, because that's like fresh supply and they could have this good impression. And that's how they pulled you in the first place. That's how you ended up in the love bombing, or thinking like just like so taken aback by all their charisma. So they're only nice to strangers, but everyone that gets to know them knows, oh God, I don't want to get involved in that drama, or I'll be the next victim. I see how they talk shit about everyone else, or I see how they blow up at everyone else and then turn everyone else, or try to turn everyone else against them. Like, I don't want any involvement in that. So if you are in a dynamic with a narcissist and your friends, or it happens at family and work dynamics a lot, they're like, I don't want to get involved. I don't even, because that wrath is going to be taken out on me. And that's normal. And like, I mean, my question is, if everyone else is having a healthy boundary, that I do think that that's a healthy boundary. So why are you continuing to engage? So we have to go back to JADE, and remembering that JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, explain, engage, or engage. And we don't need to do that with them. I know it's tempting, but getting other people involved, that's just creating more of the drama loop. And the narcissist actually likes that. Like, if you were actually to involve other people, they would like that. So while you're trying to resolve the problem, or feel like you're not crazy, or get some type of support because you feel so unsupported and so like emotionally abused, it's having the opposite effect on them. So again, it's disengage, completely disengage. I'm in a relationship, but for real, BK back in the day. I do not condone in cheating, but state in your life. I don't know what that means, Steph E. Cherry, what is the deep-rooted hate towards? I don't know. Like in general, why do people have hate towards transgender people? I mean, I think for a myriad of reasons, people have their own prejudice towards things. Colby, hate the sin. Okay. Okay, so let me know if you guys have any questions about mental health. Miss Priya, did that answer your question? That is a dynamic they do. Like, if you get in a fight with a toxic person, they bring in what are called like they're flying monkeys that will just like do what they're like little minions that support the narcissist no matter what, until their turn is up and they can't until they get like chewed out by the narcissist. But even some flying monkeys, that's like a real addiction to abandonment and the own drama that they have. And no matter what type of abuse happens, they will still, oh my God, I have something in my eye, guys. They will still come in for more. They'll still try to get that narcissist approval, even if they're being very, very abused. It's called the cycle of abuse. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye, guys. But the cycle of abuse is an addiction. So like, when you see people, sorry, I left my window open. Hear the sirens. So when you see people in these really abusive relationships and you're like, oh, why don't you get out? Why are you putting up with that? Like, the other person that's the victim is also in an addiction loop to that dynamic and is wanting the whole like repair and closeness and thinking, oh, this will be the last time that happens. Hi, Peter. It's good to see you. Let me go back up for a second. Let's see. Rob. Hey, Rob, how are you? Good evening, Lauren. Please be respectful with your comments. Thank you, Rob, for saying this. This is a safe place to get professional feedback with mental health and toxic relationships. Thank you for saying that, Rob. I appreciate that. That's exactly the truth. And I create this. If you're new here, I'm just creating a safe space for you guys to, my light went out, to talk about and ask questions about mental health, toxic relationships, anything that you're going through, just to have this space. And sometimes people are like, can you make a video about this? And then I just thought like, hey, why not come on and answer your questions in real time? So that's what this space is for. If you get weird, I'll just kick you out and you'll like not even have access to my channel, which will be sad for you. Miss Priya, if toxic person insults me in front of others, they stay quiet. Yeah, why don't you, if they insult you in front of other people, you don't respond. Like you can literally walk away. So when a toxic person or a narcissist doesn't get a reaction, all of their shame implodes on them. Like if you just like look at them and like, and if you walk away and everyone else does, or no one says anything, then because they're looking for a reaction. Everything they're doing, they want a reaction. If you don't give them a reaction, they will stop. I mean, not all the way, but like at least temporarily, because they'll feel embarrassed. And eventually we don't want to be in situations where we have those type of relationships. But in the meantime, if you can walk away, just like look at them and walk away, or don't say anything and then be like, so blah, 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 and then turn the conversation elsewhere. Michele 7574. What about the Lucifer effect in psychology? Are people going more towards the breaking point, psychologically speaking? Are they going more towards the breaking point? Well, okay, I don't know if there's any statistics on that, but what I will say is this, that there is so much more education around narcissistic behavior, any type of abusive behavior. So these people are being very exposed, and a lot of them still have their supply and their flying monkeys and everything. But I feel like the turnover rate for people healing from that and not enabling those type of people is shortening. That's why a lot of people are saying like the narcissistic collapse is, coming. And that's a real thing, because if narcissists don't have any supply, anyone enabling their behavior, then it kind of implodes and they have to look at themselves. And so, all this stuff about, there have been studies like it's a genetic thing. It's not a genetic thing in the fact that like they can't be healed from it. Like, not like you're a certain height and you're just going to be that height forever. It's like, maybe you're drawn to certain defense mechanisms, but you can heal those. They're just choosing to not look at themselves because they'd rather have other people to offload on and get enabled from. It's like I have to nip it head on. No, you don't, Miss Priya, you can ignore it. And I know you've been working on not being reactive to things, because when we are like reactive to things, like we can get in an addiction loop around being reactive, right? If it's in the comment section, if it's, with another person, we can be reactive. So if you can just break that feedback loop by deciding, okay, I'm not going to react to these things anymore. And when you are someone that doesn't react to those things anymore, you stop attracting that type of thing, because you're not available. And the other people, the toxic people that would do that, know that about you. So thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. Yes, taps. Yeah, and I go live twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays evenings. So it's like if you want to hop on again, definitely put your notifications on. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Rob. Myrnica, the older I get, the more distant I am towards people. Sometimes it's just not worth my time. And I think that's a very significant sign of healing. Like a lot of Myrnica, like a lot of people, when we are earlier on in our journey, like less healed, whatever you want to call it, we feel like we have to give our time and energy to people that don't deserve it. Like, oh, something bad's going to happen if I don't go to this event, or if I don't tolerate this behavior. And it's like, having healthy boundaries means you are probably around less people, but I am all about like quality over quantity. And I always tell you guys, your energy is so precious and your time is precious. You can't get more of it back. So only give it to people that deserve it. And when there's a synergy to it. And I say that about everything: the food you eat, the media you consume, the habits that you have, but the people that you're around, especially. Make sure that you are getting the same type of love, support, peace, joy, whatever it is that you are so freely given, generosity, all of the things. So that's really important to remember. And I think that that's a good thing, Merica. I think that that's a great quality to have. And being comfortable by yourself is also a really important thing. So I celebrate that. Sunny, the answer is that person has a conflict within themselves. Yes, we talk a lot about that. Let's see. Steph E. Fun fact, I'm here because this channel. Good to have you, Steph E. Hey, Peter. Hey, Lauren. How goes it? It goes well. How are you, Peter? Been a while. Been dealing with a personal situation with my mom's health. I'm sorry to hear that, Peter. Overall, doing okay, but it's been hectic. Hope all is well. Well, I hope you're doing okay. I hope your mom's okay. And I hope that you're still, have all your boundaries around your family situation. Thank you for your vulnerability, Peter. You've talked a lot about that, and I hope everything is smoothing out and peaceful. Steffi, I was Rob, I'm doing okay personally, by the way, Lauren, putting the tools to work to maintain. Yes. What tools are you using, Rob? I love hearing that. Good. And it's like when you start to implement these tools, like please be patient with yourself. So I teach a lot of neurological reprogramming tools because we have behaviors and patterns that they're just on autopilot and we could have learned them back in childhood, right? So we have to rewire our brain, recalibrate our nervous system to the state that we want to get the results that we want. And it really does work like that. When you change your mind, when you change the way you look at things, when you change the way you react to things, the environment around you changes. And your mind is really that powerful. So yeah, but it starts with, and it's kind of difficult. It can be difficult at first, and then it just becomes second nature. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to do that, and now I'm this way. I'm sorry to hear that, General. What's making you sad? Hi, Anna Wan. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry, Anna Vaughn. Hello, beautiful people. Is this really a safe? Of course, it's a safe place to talk. That's why I started live streaming on here, because I want it to be a safe place for you guys. So let me know if you have any questions. FTI, excuse me. I have OCD and just found out you got intuitive. And just found out, why is my eyesight? And just found out you get intrusive thoughts with OCD, and knowing this changed how I look at these scary thoughts. I get, which is a relief. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that brought you relief. So, yes, OCD is part of like the anxiety spectrum. And so it can bring up intrusive thoughts, and you could start to believe those intrusive thoughts. So if you can just look at it and say to yourself, oh, I'm believing something that isn't real. I'm having these intrusive thoughts. You can think of them as someone, like it's someone in your house that you didn't invite, and you could be like, oh, you can leave because you don't belong here. So I'm believing this thing that's not true. I'm believing a lie. And just start with that. Like, okay, well, I'm allowing this thought to take over. Or maybe it's like part of your inner critic is like, oh my God, this is going to happen if we don't, touch the doorknob 3 times, or whatever it is. OCD shows up in a lot of different ways. I have a few live streams about that. But when you can, and it is possible, by the way, you don't need to be on a bunch of meds. You can tame your OCD. And even you saying, FTI, that you like having that information about those scary thoughts was a relief. That's an excellent sign. You can even create more momentum with that and separate that. You could do that with CBT or DBT work. And and all those things, both of those modalities help you understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions are energy and motion, so they're flowing through you. But if we can start with the thoughts, because the thoughts, if we decide to believe them, then they create emotions in us that we don't want. But if we have a thought and we're like, I don't relate to that, then, it doesn't do anything. Like if someone tells me, if I have an inner thought that's like, you have green hair, well, I'm pretty sure I don't, so it's not going to do anything. But if it's some other thing that's like, oh, maybe I'm going to buy into that. So I'm happy that you're here, FTI. Hi, King. I don't know what you mean by that. Abel, so many things I need to ask. Well, ask one of them, Abel. Nice to have you here. Why do female psychologists have a higher suicide rate than women in general? I haven't heard that about female psychologists. I'm not sure if that's true. So, there are some studies that men have more of a high suicide rate, but I haven't heard that about female psychologists. I don't think that's true. Steffi, I suffer from PTSD and so much more. Okay, well, yeah. What is your question? PTSD, and some people that have PTSD, by the way, actually have CPTSD, which means complex PTSD, which means it comes from like multiple things. So if you had a really chaotic childhood, you probably have CP. So it wasn't just one event. PTSD is about one event, like you got in a car accident that was traumatic. But CPTSD means that you just had an elongated period of time that was traumatic and that was difficult for your nervous system to deal with. Remember, all trauma is that you got too much of something or not enough of something. So, but those things can be very much alleviated and worked on. And it depends on where you are, because people ask about meds. If you really, really need to feel like you need to get on just to stabilize yourself, fine. But then you want to start to wean yourself off of those things. And really, if you have PTSD, I would really encourage you to work with a therapist or coach that knows what they're doing. General Kunta, I feel sorry for myself. I've stopped smoking weed. Great. Stopped drinking. Stopped masturbating, stopped gambling. I'm alone. I feel like I'm dying, but I don't have the balls to do anything. What should I do? Well, first of all, you're here. So you are getting there. And so when you stop all of these behaviors that are numbing you out, like congratulations for stopping the weed and smoking and masturbating and gambling, because a lot of those things are used as numbing behaviors to completely numb out. To all addiction is a way to numb out to the present moment and not deal with the present moment, because it's bringing up stuff that's been in your nervous system for a long time. So it's bringing up trauma or like feelings that you don't want to acknowledge. So that should be congratulated. You should definitely give yourself credit for that and celebrate that when, like, hey, I'm not doing these numbing behaviors. So what's going to happen when you stop doing all those numbing behaviors is that you're going to have all these uncomfortable feelings come to the surface, and that is okay. I feel like a lot of times, well, I don't feel like, I know a lot of times when we have the uncomfortable feelings come up, it's kind of like, I suck, and like you start judging yourself for it. There's no need to judge yourself for it. It's literally just your nervous system being able to finally digest things. So let that happen. Let it all come to the surface. Can you write about it? Can you do things to process it? Some of the best art in the world and music is created when people are in this space, honestly. So can you at least journal about it? Can you get those feelings? Remember, the word express means to press out. So when we are expressing things, we're literally pressing them out of our nervous system. General Kunta. So can you do that right now? That would be a wonderful place to start. And then the next thing I would do is start to consistently read and watch content about personal development and what it means to stop addictions. Maybe even look into like some 12 steps, just look into it, because a lot of 12-step stuff, there's and you could do it online. 12-step communities, they offer a lot of support. It's completely free and they're the nicest people. So those are 3 things that I would do first. And of course, showing up here. And then also working with someone. If you can, it'd be a really great time to work with someone, a therapist or a coach that that you feel comfortable with. Steph E, you feel like you can't what, Steph E? Miss Priya, when I cut the narcissist type, they report to a family member or friend, and then the family member calls me, blaming me that they have to deal with the narcissist, and it's a cycle. Well, then take yourself out of the cycle. You can literally say, and this is a very common cycle, you draw a boundary with the narcissist, they complain to everyone, they rage, and then it's like, oh my God, and it's all your fault because like you're the black sheep because you're the one that has boundaries or that you're the one that's not putting up with their shit. From there, Miss Priya, you have to say, because they're using the flying monkeys to try to manipulate and control your behavior, to not call them out or to not have the boundary. So from there, you need to say, draw the boundary, keep the boundary with the narcissist, but also say, I'm not engaging in this anymore. Literally, just say, I'm not available to be in this cycle anymore. But that's going to entail cutting people off, like literally stopping the whole dynamic. And even if they are family members, like having strict boundaries with family members, because remember, if everyone is choosing to be in this cycle and you don't want to anymore, that means you have to step out of it. Like I really barely talk to my immediate family because of it. I have a mom that's a narcissist. She would blame me and I'd trigger her for a lot of things. So, and I had to draw the boundary, and then she would call on my dad to like, or still does, or but not anymore because I haven't talked to her, like literally blocked everything. So she would have put my dad in the middle of it, and then my dad would be like, oh, you have to, and I would do it for a long time. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. Like it's just this horrible, toxic, stressful cycle, and I'm choosing to not be in it anymore. And it took them years, like to understand. Like she tried to still bring all her flying monkeys around, which she only has two. Like she only has my dad and my sister, but they were like, so it's very common. But if you decide to completely step out of the cycle, Miss Priya, that's how you're going to do it. And then you'll stop attracting it in other areas of your life. But it's painful because it's kind of like, okay, you're my family and I'm really trying to make it work with you, but they don't want to make it work. They want to continue this toxic cycle. The narcissist certainly does. And that's something to grieve. That's sad because you probably want peace and they don't. Randy, can I see your comment asking for a narcissist? Let me see. Did I miss it, Randy? I didn't see your first comment, Randy. Let's see. It's peaceful alone. I mean, I think so. That's a great place to be when you could feel at peace with yourself. There's so much healing that happens when you could feel at peace with yourself, when you're not trying to numb out with anything, right? It doesn't even have to be someone else. It could just be, you could have a myriad of addictions. You could just numb out with TV. But when you could truly be at peace with yourself, it is so liberating. So Steffi, like, again, I'm creating a safe space, but you have to ask a question. I used to work for blah, 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 but got employed to stuff, and I'm so scared to talk. Well, then talk private. Like if you want to set up a one-on-one session with me, you could, all my information's in my channel and we could do that. Peter, thanks, Lauren. Past trauma, especially growing up, resurfaces with my mom, trying not to repeat old unhealthy habits, but also trying to be aware of the current situation. It's a tricky balance. Yeah, it is. And it's especially when like a parent is ill or something, we can tend to think like, okay, well, I can just I have to abandon all of my boundaries because this parent of mine is ill. No, you don't. You get to still keep your boundaries. And I have seen people that, like narcissists, will perpetually keep themselves in a sick state so they can so all their behavior can stay enabled, like literally, because you have the ability to make yourself sick in your mind. Like this has all been like clinically proven now. The data's out there. And with your mind, you can heal your cells. So, and you could heal yourself from different diseases and ailments. But with narcissist toxic people, especially when they're like, everyone is at their edge, like they're just like, I can't deal with this person anymore. It's so interesting how they will all of a sudden, get sick, and it's like, okay, well, I'm in the hospital and I'm your mom, so you need to da da da. You don't need to do. I know this sounds harsh, but you get to still keep your boundaries no matter what the situation is. And yeah, I know that might sound crazy to some people and harsh, but keep an awareness, Peter, of what is going on and what your boundaries are, and stay true to yourself. Get an accountability buddy if you need to. When I work with clients personally, like I communicate with my clients every day. I'm like, hey, are you okay? Reminding you to keep your boundaries, all the things. So, you're doing well. I can tell that you're doing well and you're aware of your boundaries, and it's just stay on top of it. But you're doing great, Peter. What is the easiest, clearest way to identify narcissism? Really, the easiest way is how you feel, because they trigger your nervous system when they're in the love bombing, like when they're like drawing you in and being all charismatic. You have this reaction like, oh my God, you're the best person. And yeah, let's start a business. Let's fall in love. Let's get married next month. All these things. It's too much too quick. They're always too much too quick. I've seen like business partners do this. It's like, oh my God, why did I rush into business with this person? They just charmed me. How did everything happened so quickly, like that whole thing. If things are happening really quickly, that's the first thing. And you're like too excited, like your nervous system is on what, and then the cycle of abuse is, then you start to get devalued. Then it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Okay. Yeah, let's go back to everything being fine. And then you're chasing them to get that high back. Those are the first two phases of any narcissist, like toxic relationship. So if that is going on, and you have to be really honest with yourself, because a part of that, when those phases are going on, you start making excuses for their behavior. And that's very common, like no judgment at all. But I'm just saying, like, if you see yourself doing that, just notice what's going on and then say like, okay, well, I don't need to do that. And I could, kind of be bummed out because I thought this person is something that they're not. So, but those are the easiest and fastest ways. Chris. Okay. Anyway, so keep the questions related to mental health, please, and relationships. I'm here to create a safe space for you guys. Steph, okay. Yeah, again, like that's a safe space. If you have a specific question, please let me know. But Steph E, it sounds like you just need to have like a one-on-one session. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, FTI. I'm bipolar with CPTSD. This is the skeptical stash. Traumatic childhood, which eventually developed into bipolar disorder. Okay. Yes. So that is, but you know what, skeptical stash, I love that you know that and you have an awareness of that. And that does create, it can create a lot of things, and including bipolar disorder, because the nervous system is it's just trying to survive, right? So it will bifurcate and do certain things, and it looks like bipolar disorder sometimes. The more you heal, I hope you're working with someone, and not just a psychiatrist that gives you meds, but like someone that can help you like rewire your nervous system in your brain around the CPTSD from childhood. And I do that all the time. I definitely have come from a background like that. So I'm telling you that it's possible. You can definitely heal from that. And so if you just keep working on yourself, inner child work is really great for that, for healing childhood stuff, childhood trauma. And but it sounds like you're on the right track if you are that aware. Um, yeah, okay. So how are the meds for you? Skeptical stash. Um, the best thing I ever did was seek a diagnosis. Exactly. Tempted. Suicide a year ago. Psych ward. There's a way to find. Well, I'm so proud of you, Skeptical Stash. It really seems like you're on a healing journey, and I'm glad that you're here. It really is good to seek a sometimes I feel like people overdiagnose things, but a diagnosis can bring so much clarity to, "Oh, this is what's going on with me." Like, I forgot who was saying about their OCD. It's like, "Oh, now that makes sense. Now I don't feel like this victim, like I'm being terrorized by my mind. It's just my nervous system trying to cope the best way it can. And now I can." And your mind is very powerful, and you have more power over your mind than you realize, especially if you've been traumatized for a long time, like in childhood. You don't realize how powerful your mind is because while your brain was being formed, all of these things were happening. But in adulthood, those things can be repaired, I promise you. Um, you'll never get the help that you truly need without, yes, absolutely. Mental health is such an amazing form of self-care. Like really doing the mental health piece is, we do the physical hygiene, we have to do the emotional and psychological hygiene. OCD, autism. Cam man, hi. There is a way. Is there a way of contacting you to speak about my decade-long nightmare? It's very complicated. Yeah, absolutely. You can, all my information is in my channel, but, like, here's my WhatsApp number, um, 949-9396-4092. So, that's my WhatsApp number, and then we can, set up a time to chat, and I do one-on-one therapy and coaching. Um, I would love to. Okay. Uno was just scrolling up, was just scrolling through lives, and this one came up. Love pages like this. I enjoy sharing my story and showing people still lost that there is hope. Yes, there definitely is. And thank you so much, Skeptical Stash, for sharing your story because there really is. And sometimes when you are in the depths of despair or you haven't been diagnosed yet or you're just new to your mental health journey, you feel like there's no hope. You feel very like victimized. And so thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that because there is hope. You could come from the most traumatic situation and have a lot going on, and if you put in the work to work on yourself and start your mental health journey, it'll be the best thing you ever did in your life. um yes, Camacho, I would love to connect with you, please, and I'll let you know if I can help you in my private practice. Dad walked out when I was young. Mother passed away when I was 10. Grew up in a broken home, diagnosed with bipolar PTSD, failed suicide attempt. Yeah. And look at you now, like you're on your healing journey. Skeptical stash. I now own a home. I have 2 beautiful little children and an awesome job. Medication stabilized me, and wanting to be okay for them kept me going. Exactly. And I always tell people that you can heal from anything, and you can literally have anything in your life and your health, wealth, relationships, career, everything you just need the willingness. You just need to decide that you can have it, and you just need to stop arguing or arguing as much for your limiting beliefs, because the people that don't work out, like in my private practice, which is where the people that literally sit there and they're like, I'm giving them all the tools. I'm helping them, and they're like, "No, this is why this is gonna work. This is why this is." And it's like, it would be like me, who knows nothing about cars, going to a mechanic and be like, "Oh, that's not gonna work because of." It's like, you don't know, you haven't tried, you know. But some people are way more comfortable arguing for their limitations. So you just have to have the willingness and desire, and also belief that, like, hey, I have tried everything on my own, and now I'm going to try this because I want to be better. So happy for you, Skeptical Stash. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. How do you deal with a past breakup? Well, first of all, with breakups in general, the best thing to do is to focus on yourself, because your brain will have obsessive thoughts about the person no matter what in the beginning, like like, because you have this addiction feedback loop, and most of us don't like abandonment. So especially if you have anxious attachment, you'll constantly like loop back and think about the person. If you have avoidant attachment, what you'll do is like cut them off and be like, yeah, I never liked you anyway. And then you'll immediately start dating someone else, but you'll still like perseverate about them. And then you'll create the same dynamic in the new relationship. That's what avoidant people do. So the best way to heal from a breakup is to focus on yourself and really focus on your healing, and immerse yourself in self-care. Like, when I'm talk to my clients about this, I'm like, I need you to be obsessed with yourself, especially if it was a toxic relationship, because you gave all of your energy to this person that was just draining it. So can you bring all of that love and all of that attention that you so freely gave to this toxic person to yourself? Um, but the meds definitely leveled me out. Yeah, like meds are helpful to a lot of people. Some people I meet, it's way overdone. So if you're in a good place with them and you're doing other work on yourself, I don't think, like, not just meds, in my opinion, like, take meds, but also constantly be talking to someone. It really is helpful, more than you think. I'll have clients be like, oh, nothing's going to come of this session. And they're like, oh my God, by the end, they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't cancel this. This was more helpful than I could have imagined. I have bitterness of all people I lost when I didn't have any control and can't fix it. I have bitterness of all the people I lost when I didn't have any control, and I don't really know what you mean, Uno. You mean like breakups? People like you lost, did they die? Um, do I have any advice on couple issues? Yeah, it depends on what the issue is. Can you elaborate more? Um, Hello from the UK. People have weird kinks. People have all kinds of weird kinks. If you have some weird kink and you don't know why, it probably has something to do, like, at some point in childhood when you got aroused by something, you were looking at something, even if it's an insect. Why some intelligence person feels why some I think you mean, what you mean to say, Bruce, is why do some intelligent people feel comfortable when alone? Some people are introverted. Some people, like, especially if you're introverted, you need to recharge alone. And I was just saying earlier that I think it is so healthy to really be comfortable, to like be by yourself, and not like in a defensive way where you're like keeping people out. You have a balance, right? You have a support system. You know how to connect in an emotionally um, mature way, and you have the capacity for like emotional intimacy, but you also know how to be alone, and you also are comfortable being alone, and you don't feel like you need to numb out or search for something. And then you could also like prosper when you're alone. You could work on some side hustle or whatever. Like, it's It's that balance. Um, let's see, breakups, partners, friends, and family that I can't talk to at all or feels distant. So after Uno, are you saying that, like, after a breakup, you're upset that you don't have contact with these people anymore? And, I mean, sometimes if there's a breakup with with partners, especially, like, romantic partners, sometimes that's the healthiest thing to do. Um, like, the only time I would think that you need to really stay in contact with a partner is if you have a child with them, and that's for, you know, co-parenting reasons. But why do you have the desire to continue to talk to people that you've broken up with? And then with friends and family, can't talk at all or there's distance. Well, if you have breakups with friends and family, it sounds like there's a pattern. So what, and we take accountability for our behavior here. We take accountability so we could become the best version of ourselves, and we take accountability so we can heal, and we take accountability so we could stop the old patterns that we don't like in our lives. So, what I would ask you is, what pattern do you have where you have these breakups with friends, family, and then they want distance? What is it? Do you have a temper? Do you have a hard time with accountability? There's something there, because it sounds like a big pattern and you want to have access to these people and they're like, no, I'm keeping my distance. So what is the pervasive pattern for you? Miss Priya, when I bring up a issue to my friend, they say you seem always to attract problems. Well, and like, maybe that's like I've said, Miss Priya, I'm not giving solutions. And so, yeah, and like, some people, there's two things there. Sometimes our friends, they're not therapists, right? So they don't have the solution. So they could get frustrated. Like, they want the best for you. They don't want you to be suffering or uncomfortable, but it's like, I don't know what to tell you. So there's that, right? And a lot of times, if people are, our friends or the people closest to us, that they're like, oh my God, this pattern again. Well, what part of it is your not fault, but like, where can you take an accountability? And that's why, like, especially my work with toxic relationships, that is my goal for you guys. I want you to rewire your brain, release the past addiction loops to like certain behaviors and certain, drama, all of those things, certain pain. We can be addicted to pain, emotional pain, any type of pain. So where can you stop that feedback loop? So stop giving them energy. Stop, like, what are your boundaries? Going back to the exercise I give you guys a lot. What are your standards in relationships? Is one of your standards that I get to have healthy conflict resolution with all of my relationships? If that is one of your standards, you will no longer attract toxic people. And are you getting something out of the arguing back and forth? I mean, I'm being like, you got to be super real with yourself. Are you getting some type of high off of the argument, off of getting upset, then the conflict resolution, then the back and forth? Like, I really want you to ask yourself that. And it's okay. There's no judgment at all, because you wouldn't be asking that question if you didn't want something to change, right? I think that deep down you have a desire for it to very much just be peaceful. So, Miss Priya, like, if your friend is saying that, I don't know if you're attracting problems, but is it like toxic people? Just because your nervous system is used to that. If we have toxic parents, our nervous system thinks that that's normal until we decide, hey, this isn't normal. And I want my normal baseline state to be peace and love, which is the opposite of toxic narcissistic people. So making that decision and then shifting from there. And really, 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 in a very sincere way, write down what your new standards are for your relationships. We default to our standards, guys. So if you really don't have a tolerance for something, it really will not show up in your life. I promise you that. Um, let's see. Deco fall. Like, what do you suggest to an adult that was sheltered until he became an adult and suffered severe school bullying and has a lot of social anxiety at the moment. Can this be healed? It can absolutely be healed. And, overly sheltering a child, I really do feel like it's a form of abuse. And I know it's coming from an anxious place on the parents' part. But yeah, so if you overly shelter someone, their nervous system hasn't learned how to do a lot of things and everything is triggering to them. And then, some people like that, because they're socially awkward, can get bullied. And that's unfortunate as well, but it does create a lot of anxiety because your nervous system doesn't know how to cope with anything and like normal things. So that is a common response. It's a common trauma response to being overly sheltered. A lot of different anxiety things. So anxiety symptoms and syndromes, but it can be healed. But you have to, this person that you're talking about has to have the willingness to want to work on themselves. If you have the willingness, I don't know if you're asking for a friend, but yes, it can be. You just have to have the willingness. Let's see. Hi, John. I have some ADHD or mental health condition where I can't pick up when someone doesn't answer me directly. What? Miss Priya? I have some ADA or mental where I can't pick up when someone doesn't. No, that's not a. It sounds like you're just seeking a certain answer that you're not getting. There's no mental health condition about that. Um, Ironically, it's communication. What do you mean, Uno? Starkey. Can you keep the questions related to mental health? Like, don't ask stupid shit. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to create a safe space for you. I really love this channel. Do you have daily streaming? No. Oh, great. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that you love my channel. Let me know if there's any content that you want me to create to make it better or that would answer your questions directly. So I live stream every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific and every Sunday evening, and that's called Soothing Sundays. And we just recalibrate for the week to make the week awesome. It's a little antidote to the Sunday scaries, and that's at 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you. Thank you. So please join for the live streams, Bruce. It's every Wednesday and Sunday. And then turn on your notifications, and then you'll get a notification just in case you forget when the live streams are happening. What kind of therapy do you suggest for over sheltering or bullying trauma therapy? Or I don't suggest EMDR. It got really popular and a bunch of therapists started getting certified for EMDR because it was like lucrative. If you have one specific trauma, for instance, like a car accident, like very specific PTSD type of thing, then do EMDR for it. It is not good for like childhood. Like a bunch of stuff happened to your childhood. It's not, and there's finally the research is coming out about it, that it can make things worse. And I've had clients come to me, they're like, oh, I did EMDR for my childhood and it made it worse. And I'm like, oh my God, I know. So it's not good for that. Do for this type of to answer your question, the type of therapy that you want to do for over sheltering and bullying is called CBT. So cognitive behavioral therapy is what CBT stands for. And yeah, because there's a bunch of different therapies that fall under CBT, but that's what I would find someone that is really knows what they're doing and understands neuroscience. With either a coach or a therapist. And if you like, you can. I put actually all of my information is that there's a link at the top of my channel. I've helped many people with those type of things, as long as they are willing, as long as the willingness is there. Because sometimes with overly sheltered people, unfortunately, they find enablers because they're so used to being coddled and all these things. So they'll marry an enabler. Like I've seen men do this, and they just marry someone that's like basically like a mom to them. And they don't want to ever, so if the willingness is there, find a therapist or coach that specializes in CBT, and I would take it from there. Uno, let's see. The issue with me is communication. I don't want go into it. You already answered my question by saying taking accountability is the road to healing. Taking accountability is always the road to healing. Accountability and like the willingness to change, but part of the having the willingness is taking accountability, not just saying, "Oh, fuck it, it's everyone else's fault," like a lot of narcissist and borderline people do. So it's kind of like in any situation. I remember when I was healing from my own toxic relationships and narcissistic abuse, and I'm like, I keep attracting the same dynamic. It can't be everyone. Like, it's not, I'm not like a victim here. And a lot of people get triggered when I say that. They're like, oh no, you're victim blaming. I'm not victim blaming shit. If you have certain patterns show up in your life, they are information. They're information about where you can heal, about where you can level up or be better. There's something that, especially, your relationships are very revealing. So they're very like, and I mean that in the best way. They're very like, they will help you understand where you get to heal, where you get to have a deeper understanding about yourself. So if you have communication issues with people, it's kind of like, okay, and really sit down and write about it. It's like, okay, I have this pattern. What is the feedback that I'm getting? If people are being distant and don't want to talk to me, maybe they feel overwhelmed, maybe they don't feel heard, because if people that have responses are like, I can't anymore, it's usually because they've tried a lot of things and they just feel like hopeless about it. So can you circle back? Was there opportunities, Uno, where you could have listened more, or where you could have not reacted in maybe like a super inflamed way? Maybe there's an opportunity for growth in that area. FTI, I'll be watching from now on. I've learned a lot. I love the Belfast. Sorry. Oh, love from Belfast, Ireland. Oh my gosh. Hi. I'm Marcus. Hi, Marcus. Hello from Ireland. I love that. I love like meeting you guys from literally everywhere. Thank you for joining, Marcus, and I'm glad you learned a lot. That's what I'm here for, to support you guys in your healing journey. Can you give an example of CBT therapy? Can self-hypnosis help too? I would say if you're new to, the healing, and, you can go on YouTube and there's self-hypnosis stuff, but even with hypnosis stuff, especially when you're new to your healing journey, I would definitely do that with someone, because you need to integrate things. It's like at first, I know there's a tendency to want to do things yourself, but especially with what you're talking about, Deco fall, with the over sheltering and stuff, you should really work with someone. I would not recommend self-hypnosis at first, because that just requires a lot of self-awareness, and then you could get triggered by something, and then you're in a worse place because you're triggered and you don't know why. But if you're doing something in a guided way with someone and you get triggered, they can keep you on track. But okay, so that's the self-hypnosis part. To answer the other part of your question, CBT is a lot of CBT. The basis of it is understanding that it's called the ABCs: the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. So the antecedent is what happens before it's the trigger. And then the behavior is, so you have a trigger and then it causes you to act like whatever the behavior is. And then the consequence, what is the consequence of that behavior? So you work with someone, you identify all of those patterns, what the antecedent, what the behavior, and what the consequence is. And you go, okay, what is the new consequence that you want to have? You work from there. Okay, well, I want a life where I'm not triggered by things. I want a life where I don't have anxiety, all of the things. Those are basically the goals. That's the new consequence that you want. Okay. And then a therapist will be like, let's talk about the behaviors that you typically do. And then the therapist will be like, okay, can we start to replace some of those behaviors? Oh, and then you integrate those. And I'm giving a very simplified version because every person is so unique, but then you start to get into the behaviors, and then you go into the antecedent, which is like, oh, that thing that used to trigger you, Now it's like that emotional response isn't as intense because we're breaking that feedback loop. We're breaking that neural pathway and creating a new one that is rooted in peace. And in this case, not not as much anxiety as peace, but peace and like being productive and being like gregarious and being able to connect with people in the world, all of the things. To answer your question, disco fall. You're welcome, Uno. You're so welcome. Thank you for that's such a powerful question, Uno. And I feel like a lot of people are not brave enough to ask that. They're just like, they'd be like, yo, yeah, fuck everyone. Everyone's being mean to me. Like, even in the way you ask that question, you're already taking accountability. And from there, you can just deepen it. So you're very welcome. And also thank yourself. And yeah, maybe do that journaling exercise that I just recommended for you. Bruce, Laura. Actually, my name's Lauren. Hello, Bruce. People get turned on by different things. Yeah, let me know how it goes, Uno. Hello, Chickall. Yeah, I mean, like decoding what turns people on is you'd have to work with someone one-on-one, but a lot of times people have it is rooted in childhood. You know, you saw something while you were whatever, and that could be a thing. Well, great questions, you guys. And nice to see some new people like from, you know, Marcus from Belfast. I freaking love it. I love connecting with you guys. And as always, you guys ask great questions. And I will be here on Sunday. And in the meantime, I make like shorts every day. If you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and then here, like I make shorter videos. And then I make more long format videos too. I want to do a series on inner child work because it's so important. And especially the other reason I created these live streams is like because people reach out and they're like, I can't, you know, whatever, I can't afford it right now, type of thing to work with me one-on-one. So, you know, at least I could come here and answer your questions. And sometimes if there's a theme of questions, I'll make shorter videos about them. So I use a weighted blanket and rock myself to sleep almost every night. That's great. That's a way to regulate your nervous system. Weighted blankets and rocking yourself to sleep, or any form of rocking, or even going like this or tapping is a way to regulate your nervous system. And I have a few videos on this. They're in the night. I think the playlist is rewiring your brain for sleep. I go over EFT, which is tapping the meridian points in your body. They're like the places where you would get acupuncture, but they regulate your nervous system. So all of those things are wonderful ways to regulate your nervous system. I think that's very adaptive. Disco fall. Thank you. God bless you too. Yes, God bless you all. Sending you lots of love and everything that you want, love, peace, and joy. How to overcome public fear of speaking. Ooh, that's a good one. My course on overcoming imposter syndrome is really good with that. But you have to, I think, I mean, there's so many ways, but here's a few of my favorite ways to overcome public speaking is to practice it. And I mean, you could practice it in your mind as much as possible, then maybe practice it in front of a friend and then 5 friends, and then continuously do that. But the more you can visualize yourself giving it, just start with something that you love talking about, and then imagine yourself giving TED Talks. And I mean, like, just obsessively think about it as a very good way to train your brain to do that, and to train your brain to be comfortable and actually like doing it. And then the other thing I really think is helpful is to go, and you could do it online now, but I do think it's best to do it in person, is to do what's that called? The speech club. Why am I forgetting the name of the speech club? It's called oh, I gotta look it up. But you should definitely speech club. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I used to do it. I've done it before. Toastmasters. Going to Toastmasters. If you're really deathly afraid, start online and then find a Toastmasters near you. And that will really help. And not only, you pay like $25 a month, it's something like that. And they give you feedback and you get more and more comfortable. Yes, Toastmasters. I think that those are two wonderful things to do. So you could do the mindset work, and then plus Toastmasters is a great place to start. Is it a sign of something? No, Disco, it's not. There's nothing wrong with you. I was just saying that I think it's a very adaptive way to regulate your nervous system at night. Think about this. People smoke a ton of weed, drink till they pass out, smoke, do all of these things to try to fall asleep, and you have a weighted blanket and you're rocking yourself to sleep. That is very adaptive. I really like that. It takes me, sometimes I have to work with clients a lot to get them to that place. So good for you. So there's nothing wrong with you. You can congratulate yourself for that. Chikal, working with my kids to learn how to decrease negative behaviors has been good but challenging. Nice. Very good. And again, CPT work is good with that. And also, what I will say is that when you're working with kids on challenging behaviors, it's challenging. But children actually love it. They're not going to be like, oh, I love that you're doing this. But children feel safe when you have boundaries, when there are rules. These kids that are like, that have these parents are like, oh, do whatever you want. Those kids have the most unregulated nervous systems because they're like, what are the boundaries? I have these big people called adults that are supposed to be taking care of me and providing safety for me, and they're letting me do whatever the fuck I want. Like, so kids actually like boundaries. They don't really ever articulate it. Like, thank you, mother, for these rules that I rebel against. But they're helping me regulate my prefrontal cortex so it can develop. No, they're not going to say that, but just know that you're doing the right thing even when it's challenging. Billy Ray Cyrus. Oh, hey. Only 1% of the world have like this condition, deep talk about knowledge is intelligence. I haven't caught your explanation about it. I mean, like, I did say, I mean, do you want me to get into every detail of it? Like, does it, and does this condition bother you? But like, to answer it on a like kind of surface level, anything, if you have some type of weird kink or weird thing that turns you on, it might be a memory that you don't even remember from childhood, but like you were turned on at some point and then saw a certain stimulus and then it caused those type of things. But like, to answer that specifically, it's very specific to you. So when I work with people individually and they ask me these things, it's like, okay, we get into and it'll be like, oh, it's this one memory, or it's like, oh, that stimulus makes me feel that way. It's just a very personal association. So I couldn't really answer it fully. Like, you would have to also do a deep dive or, work with someone that could help you if it's even bothering you. Wow, thank you about the compliment. I always felt that because my anxiety that prevented me to fall asleep, I had no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're taking really good care of yourself. I think that's a beautiful form of self-care to do that. And then you could also do some inner child work. Like, okay, like if you know that like when you were 8 years old or when you were 12 years old, it was hard for you to fall asleep because your parents were fighting or something, you can talk to that 12-year-old and be like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a weighted blanket and some, I don't know, a hot drink, and you're fine and you're safe now, because our bodies remember certain things. So in adulthood, it's like, oh, I'm anxious about falling asleep, but it's really because of something that's still in your nervous system. So if you talk to that version of yourself, if you're aware of that, this is why I want to make the inner child series. And I'll probably get on that this weekend. But when you identify those things from childhood and you can talk to that version of yourself, it's really interesting how those things get lifted. Like, all of a sudden it's not in your nervous system anymore. All of a sudden you don't have that anxiety anymore. And you didn't need all those meds. You didn't need like 10 years of therapy. You just needed to talk to your inner children, so let's keep things related to mental health. I'm here creating a nice, safe space for you guys. You're welcome. Thank you for helping me know reassurance, helping set limits with kids is helpful to them. Oh yeah, it is. And in the thick of it, it really doesn't seem like it, but that is what children want the most. And it is they want to know that they could rebel, and you'll be like, no, because what they're hearing on a subconscious and unconscious level, like which is in your nervous system, like, oh, my parent cares about my safety more than anything. So it'll all work out. Hello, time, space, entanglements. How are you? I had a chance to read Freud's interpretation of dreams. I had weird response. I caught myself apologizing to Freud. Interesting. Why did you feel like you had to apologize? Is that an authority figure thing? Is inner children work a form of reparenting? Yes, it's a form of reparenting yourself. That's the basis of inner child work, is reparenting those parts of you, those different versions of you as a child. And then the other part of reparenting work is also imagining like the ideal parents that you want. And some people call them like the male and female version of God. And then knowing that you have a lot of love and support from them, and they're always taking care of you and always loving and supporting you. And then you reparent your inner children. Enlightened prophet, let the mind wander and not wander. Yeah. Be like little children and enter the FTI. I've PTSD too, so I'll have a few questions next time. Yeah, of course. It's hard to answer on public zone. I changed. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's just it's very specific in terms of those type of things, like the origin of them. And then also deciding like, does this bother? Is this something like you want to change? And a lot of times those things are hard to completely change. So insomnia being the worst symptom. It's after 3 here. Oh, where? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. I was about to ask like what time it is. Insomnia can be cured. I mean, go look at I have a playlist about insomnia and falling asleep. The background is blue in it. And but I've helped so many people with insomnia, but every single client I've had that I've helped with insomnia, and I mean like they've tried every med. They've tried smoking a ton of weed and drinking, and they finally were like, "Listen, I've tried everything, and I know that my insomnia is related. It's in my mind. I'm finally there because I've tried every other outside solution." And then from there, we did neurological reprogramming techniques, and it was in a month, insomnia gone, health completely improved because, sleep is so important to our health. So everyone's health got better. It's one of my favorite things to help people with. But start with that playlist, FTI, and let me know if it's helpful. By the way, I'm not agree about that. I'm not. I don't know what you mean, Bruce. Chikal, some of these men need to be curious about their lust. Yeah. Enlightened prophet, the power of love will eventually replace. Yes, it will. Great questions, you guys. And great to meet you, new people on the live stream. We definitely have regulars here, so it's nice to see and meet more people from all over the world. I love that. And so I will see you again on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yes, I have never looked at it that way. Oh, yeah. You're welcome. But yeah, insomnia is definitely something that you can release. Deco, I'm reparenting a kind of role play inside my head. Yes, it's a certain role play inside your head in a way. The role of the parent, behavior should I have had. Yes. So you're giving that version of yourself. So if the 12-year-old version of yourself was traumatized and couldn't sleep at night because your parents were fighting or there was some type of thing that was dysregulating your nervous system, in your mind, you could do it in a meditation or you could journal or whatever, but it's just easier to do it in your mind, I think. Say to that version, that 12-year-old version of yourself, you're safe now. I'm keeping you safe. I'm going to put a weighted blanket on. So yeah, it is kind of like a role play in a way that you're doing. Yeah, and you're giving yourself the parenting that you did not receive at that age. Many times or attempts is usually needed to reparent. How many times? It's different for everyone, but the thing about reparenting is that you just constantly do it. Just like you nurture your relationships that you have with your friends and everything. So, love you too. So it's not like oh, I'm one and done, but know that every time you do it, and a lot of people, the first time they do it, they have a really powerful experience and they really connect with it. And a lot of healing happens the very first time that they do it. But then when you awaken that, for instance, that 12-year-old that I was talking about, then you start to have a relationship with them. Then it's like, oh, my 12-year-old wants to be playful right now. My 12-year-old wants to relax and not feel like they have to, overperform and do everything for everyone else. You know what I mean? You'll start to connect with these parts of yourself and the relationship develops. So it's not just a one-on-one type of thing. So yeah. And I'll talk more about that on Sunday. Maybe I'll have a video out by Sunday on inner child work. I have to put that at the top of because it's so powerful. So you guys are inspiring me to finally make that playlist of inner child work and modalities. Would love to donate all this advice is gold. Oh, thank you. I thought Lauren feel the same with me. You're so welcome. I'm glad it was useful. Mike, to stop intrusive thoughts, well, first you have to identify what they are. And then there's so many ways to do this, but I'll just give the most basic cognitive behavioral one now, is that, first of all, breathe deeply because your breathing is most likely dysregulated. And then identify all of the intrusive thoughts, literally write them all down. It really decreases the power when you write them all down. And then ask yourself, what unmet need do you feel like you have that the intrusive thoughts are trying to get? Because there's an unmet need there. So if you can identify what that unmet need is by the intrusive thoughts and then provide that for yourself. So it's like, oh, I need to feel safe. Can you tell yourself you're safe? And this, again, inner child work is great here. You are safe. You are perfect. You are intelligent. You are, capable. You are enough. So it depends on what it is. You'd have to get really in there, but identify what the intrusive thoughts are trying to make you believe isn't true, or what fear they're trying to get you to buy into. Hello, Dave. We're just wrapping up now, but I will be back for Soothing Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, great questions, great connecting with you guys. And I will see you. Well, if they are self-harm, you need to talk to someone immediately. You need to talk to a therapist. You need to work with a professional, like, immediately. And if that is hard for you, then connect on like a suicide line or some type of self-harm. Please do that right now. Like, get off this live stream and go. If you have a therapist or someone that you're working with, call them immediately or text them immediately, and then find some type of like hotline support right away. Do that for me, Mike, and let me know what happened or like what you did after that on Sunday. Come on here again on Sunday and tell me, but you have to take care of yourself right now in the present moment. But I'm glad that you asked. So go find one of those hotlines. They're very available, and get your needs met immediately, and then work with someone, and then you could work on the other stuff. And yeah, and if you've had it for years, it sounds like you don't want it anymore. So that's a good sign that you actually want to do something to alleviate it. So start with there. I think that this is just kind of a sign for you to actually finally do something about it. If you've had these intrusive thoughts for years, you wouldn't be on this live stream if you didn't want it to change finally. So start to take steps towards doing that, and let me know how it goes on Sunday. Or you guys can always connect with me in the meantime on TikTok and Instagram. You can DM me and I'll eventually get back to you. So there's that too. Okay. I love you guys. Great questions, and I will see you on Sunday. Mwah. Bye.